Welcome back to Vintage Reviews. I'm George, and it is 2021, the first video of 2021, and I decided that I'm going to kick off this year right. I am going to do one of the best sci-fi movies, one of my all-time favorites that has ever been made, and that is Planet of the Apes, 1968. That's right. This is an amazing film. I remember it from way back in the day. I've watched it all my life. I'm a very big fan of this, and I'm excited, very excited to be kicking off 2021 and talking about it today. So, okay, this one was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. He was pretty cool. He had some good titles to his name. He directed Patton, he directed Papillon, he directed The Boys from Brazil. So he had a pretty cool career, and they tapped him to direct this one. And of course it stars Charlton Heston. Come on. Charlton Heston. Now, I'll say a quick thing about him. You know, he was Moses in the Ten Commandments. He was in Ben-Hur. He was in all these great movies. When I think of Charlton Heston, I think of Planet of the Apes. That's exactly where my mind goes. He is forever cemented in film history because of this role. He's so good in it, too. Also, we got Roddy McDowall, Kim Hunter, Linda Harrison, and Maurice Evans, who was Dr. Zaius. Great cast. Amazing cast. So, of course, we know what the movie's about. This trio of astronauts led by Heston. His name is Taylor, the character. They go out in deep space, crash land on a planet in the desert, and they march through the desert, find this civilization of humans that are not able to talk or think or reason. They're basically primitive cavemen type people, but they don't turn out to be the dominant force. No, the dominant force of civilization on the planet is, of course, as the title says, a planet full of apes, chimpanzees, gorillas. They're running the show, and they don't like humans. They think of humans as animals, and Taylor, the one surviving person from the trio of astronauts that came, gets injured and he can't talk, but he can still think and reason. So we have this whole great story of him where he's originally expected to be considered one of these savages because he can't talk, he gets injured, can't talk. But as the story unfolds, his intelligence comes out and he shakes the system of the ape civilization to its core. And that's the movie, that's the plot. We all know the plot, but I'm just recapping it here. But it is a very good foil for a lot of thought-compelling sci-fi, and there's plenty of action. There's just great writing. We'll talk about that. But that is the movie, and let's get into it. So here we are with Planet of the Apes, 1968. Alright, so again, I'd like to come back to the writing and talk about that real quick. So it is based on the book Planet of the Apes, which I believe was originally called Monkey Planet. I think. I did see that somewhere, but it was later retitled Planet of the Apes by Pierre Boulleau, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But here's the book. Now, truth be told, I have never sat down and read this book. I don't know why. I love this movie. I love the whole concept of it, but I never read the book. So you know what? I'm recommending that. I just bought the book. You can see I got my bookmark in there, and I just started it, and I'm digging it. It's really cool, and so just wanted to throw that out there. But the script is credited to Rod Serling and Michael Wilson. So, I mean, a lot to unpack right there. So, if you know anything about me, if you've seen some of my other videos, I've mentioned it before, I'm a huge Rod Serling fan. Twilight Zone is one of the greatest concepts in TV history, some of the best writing in TV history. I think Rod Serling is amazing. He started the script for this, and they gave it to Michael Wilson, who reworked it. And I was doing a little bit of digging, and I found out that a couple of years ago, a comic publisher put out a graphic novel version of Rod Serling's original screenplay, and they call it Planet of the Apes Visionaries. So if you want to see the original take that Rod Serling had, I've always been curious about that because I knew the situation that he wrote the first script and then it was given to another writer to punch up and change things. I've always wanted to know what Serling's original vision was. Well, you can get that graphic novel and you can check it out. Now, I'm not going to turn this video into a comparison of his script and that story to what we ended up getting, but it is interesting to talk about a few concepts here. So the big thing is he had taken some concepts out of the original novel and he set the film in an ape society that had modern technology. It had helicopters and cities and cars and things like that. And from what I understand, the production was like, we can't do that because that's going to be too expensive. We need to create a look that is more primitive because it'd be easier to build those sets and film on that. So they had Michael Wilson rework the script. So you got that primitive look of the sets. But I actually think that improves the story. I think if it would have been in a more familiar setting where there's planes and there's helicopters and cities, that would have took a little of the mystique away. So I'm actually kind of glad they went with this look because it looks great. It looks sci-fi. It looks otherworldly. It looks primitive. It looks dirty. It looks scary because of that. So I'm very pleased that they did that. So another thing I'd like to point out is the music, and it was written by Jerry Goldsmith. And this is a chance for me to actually give some love to Jerry Goldsmith because his score is so just creepy. And there's this scene kind of early in the film where the humans get attacked by the apes who are hunting them, and you hear these horns. It's like a ooga, ooga, and it's like an alarm. It's meant to make an alarm sound in your head, and up shows the apes, and they've got their guns, and it's terrifying. Jerry Goldsmith, awesome work. So I'll kind of conclude in talking about how I feel this is such a important film, and actually series, because it did spawn a series of 4 more movies from this, that ushered in a new era of science fiction into the late 60s, into the 70s. And we all know how sci-fi and film kind of evolved in the 70s. There was a great push that started in the early part of the decade, and by the end of it, it was moving into a whole new era. And I feel like Planet of the Apes was one of those first movies that switched the tide from the 50s and early 60s, and it said, okay, we're going to do something different, and this is going to inform what's going to come later. I think Planet of the Apes was definitely one of them. And I think the way it's held up over generations ever since then has proven its worth as a film. It has been parodied many times in comedies and on TV like The Simpsons. It has had remakes and reboots in the last decade, was pretty good, I think, and gave it a new edge. But it all comes back to this one. This one started it all, and it's in a class by itself, and I don't see it ever being topped. It's just so smart. The script is smart. The dialogue is crackly, and it gives you things to think about. It questions very deep concepts like evolution, and it also questions man's ability to be civil and its warlike nature. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that amazing, iconic ending that is definitely attributed to Rod Serling, by the way. That was his idea, where Taylor walks up and there's the Statue of Liberty, and he realizes, oh my God, I didn't actually go out into the cosmos. Somehow we circled back to Earth and crash landed back on Earth thousands of years into the future, and humanity had blown itself up. And what remained was the apes that took over the planet. And the ending on a downer like that, ending on just a twist, it's just extremely bold choice, but it worked, and now we have it forever. And in my opinion, it's one of the coolest, most original, most bold, I'll use that word, bold endings of a sci-fi film that I can think of was the ending of Planet of the Apes. All right, so that is my look at Planet of the Apes, 1968. One of my all-time favorite films. I love it. I think it's really good. It holds up very well. What do you think of Planet of the Apes? Do you have any thoughts? Is it one of your favorites? Do you have anything to add? Let me know. I would really appreciate it. All right, so thanks again for watching. Take care, and until the next time, have a good one.